Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel, and today we'll be talking about some of the new Ionia cards from the new expansion. So these 5 Ionia cards came out yesterday. This video will be going out today. So, along with this, we actually have 6 new cards, right? 5 are from Ionia and 1 from Targon, and then we also have these 5 old ones. So these will probably be 2 separate videos, but for now I'm going to talk about these 5 cards. So first we have Flower Child. So Flower Child is a 1-mana 1/2 with when I'm supported, grant me +2 attack. This card has a really hard time being viable. It reminds me a lot of the Barrier one. I don't even remember what it's called. But it said you have to support the Flower Child specifically, and not getting a health stat is really debilitating unless your support, whatever you're supporting it with, gives it the health stat. This card is really hard to be worth it. If you're playing Ari the Traveler, something like that, then Flower Child actually becomes a 3/4, which is super strong, and I definitely think that's pretty powerful. But being a 3/2, or like imagine being a 4/3 with War Chefs, that's much worse than a 3/4. Just because the health stat matters so much more than the attack stat. I mean, turn 2, no one has a unit with more health than 2 or 3. Sorry, no one has a 4 health stat, but a lot of creatures at that point can have upwards of 4 damage attack stat, which means that this card just has a hard time being useful, right? The health stat matters a lot less than the attack stat, unless you're able to give it Overwhelm, and it won't even survive that long. Next, we have Young Witch, which is a 2-mana 1/1 elusive. Support, give my supported ally quick attack and +1 attack this round. This card is actually pretty okay. And I say that because it's got the elusive stat. If you give the elusive keyword to anything, it's pretty okay, actually. Being able to hit for 2 damage, technically, if you give another elusive the extra attack. I mean, a 2-mana 2/1 is actually not that bad. And yes, it's like not the best elusive, but I mean, elusives is in a really hard place right now, right? They don't have a lot of viability. And this card can kind of replace Shadow Assassin, which we lost after its nerf. I mean, this card is just a 2-mana 2 attack elusive. That doesn't get you the draw card, right? It doesn't get you to that draw, but it still is perfectly viable and works very well, even with the 1 health. I mean, the 1 health is, debilitating, right? It gets removed pretty easily. But, I mean, sure, Make It Rain, Vile Feast, all kill it for, good value, right? But it's only a 2-mana, and it is an elusive. If you get to attack with this once, it's already done 2 damage. And 2 elusive damage is a big deal, especially late in the game. I mean, if you want to compare this to Navori Blade Scout, it's probably just a better Blade Scout, right? So, yeah, I think it's going to be a okay card for elusives. I'm not sure how well it's going to do with its current 1 health stat. It might be too weak. I don't know. It all depends on the meta. If one health is very easily taken care of, then it might not be viable. Alright, so now next we have Tasty Feyfolk, a 3-mana 4/3 lifesteal. Love that artwork, by the way. But this reminds me a lot of Dreadbloom Wanderer. Dreadbloom Wanderer is a 3-mana 3/2 lifesteal with Toss 2. So in any deck where you're playing Dreadbloom, this card just does 100% better. And the reason you'd be playing Light or Dreadbloom, whatever, and possibly now this card, is a deck where you're actually not wanting to play Zed. Now, that seems strange. Multiple people I've heard have compared this to Zed, and the reason for that is Zed is almost never going to be dealing enough damage to matter in the long run. If you're, he's been seen in elusive decks. Elusives are the way you win the game. Zed, although he is a good aggressive card and can deal some extra damage early game, he really forces your opponent to give up some valuable resources, some creatures. Tasty Feyfolk doesn't do that very well, so Tasty Feyfolk is actually going to be a shoo-in in decks that are more control-y. And, because he can gain you 4 life, he can kill something, which means he's a good anti-aggro card. Which is what I've heard a lot about him. He's a good anti-aggro card. He can trade something and gain you 4 life. Buying you time. If you're playing Ezreal Karma, you definitely probably want to be playing this card. But if you're comparing it to Zed in its ability to take out aggressive decks, which is all this card does, Zed does it better because they're forced to block it, and Zed does 3 damage. TC Feyfolk, yes, it gains you the life, and yes, is a body, but it doesn't survive. So Zed is better in situations where you need that constant damage and that constant pressure on your opponent, like an elusive strategy where you need to punch in those last bits of damage. But in a deck where you're just trying to stall out, TC Feyfolk is better because it gains you that life on top of being a body. So next we have Swole Squirrel. I can hear the meme. I can just see the memes already. Swole Squirrel is a 4-mana 3/4 with strike, double my power. So this card is obviously a support themed card, right? But it's more of a meme, right? Swim compared this to Grappler. And of course, you guys probably know I watch Swim. You guys probably watch Swim too. I mean, right? So this is really not going to be a competitive viable card at all. It's just here as a meme card, right? This is a very obvious meme card. It has very little power unless you're able to give it Overwhelm. And even if you have like a Kato, it still takes 2 combats to actually make this hit hard enough to be viable. And so this card's not going to be played at all, but it's definitely a good meme card. So, yeah. Next, we have Fuzzy Caretaker, which is a 4-mana 3/3. When I'm supported, give me 3 health this round. Great for healing. If you can support him after he's taken damage, he gains health back, which is pretty great if you're thinking about it value-wise. He can trade, he can trade the board and then heal himself back up, which is great for mid-range decks. And then he can also give my supported ally +3 attack this round, which in a lot of situations means they can actually, it's harder to block. You have to chump block, right? Because you can't make a good trade anymore. If you have a 3 attack ally like Zed, now it becomes a 6 attack ally, which is the most obvious. Turn 3 you play Zed, turn 4 you play this and attack with it either on turn 4 or the open attack turn 5. You give Zed that extra 3 attack and now it's much harder to block. And you have to at least block both, Zeds at that point because that's a lot of damage. I do see one problem with this card, and it's that if Zed's removed, or in that situation, or if you don't have a board, this card is just a clunky 4-mana 3/3. And even though he can heal, that doesn't matter very often because on blocking, he's only a 3/3. He's probably dying. Like, unless they have a War Chefs, which you can block, like, he is going to die. I mean, compared to other 4-drops, they almost all have 3 or 4 attack, which means they can kill him, and he doesn't actually get the value out of his support ability, or his, when he's supported ability, gain 3 health, he doesn't get to use that. And gaining 3 extra attack, 3 extra attack on the attack doesn't matter, because once you get to a certain point on attack stats, 4 or 5, upwards of that, it doesn't matter unless your allies have Overwhelm. You really want the health buff at that point, right? The more health it has, the more times it can block and the more value you can get out of that creature. But the extra attack hardly ever matters after turn 6 or 7 of the game. And Fuzzy Caretaker being 4 mana means he doesn't actually matter until, well, maybe that attack on turn 4, but turn 5 or turn 6. And at that point, his ability, when I'm supported, is never going to go off. And his support is just too weak to make him worth it. Alright guys, so that was my takes on these 5 cards. Be looking out for my next video on the cards that came out today, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.